day we've all been waiting for. It's November 1st today.
Sweet November has finally arrived.
I said it this morning, I'll say it again. Sweet November is finally here, baby, and I'm pumped. That's some sweet November right there.
Awesome. You gotta be kidding me. No way. He's dead right there.
I cannot believe that. 4 years.
I just wish you would. Let's go, dude. That was crazy.
I can't believe it. What a hunt.
Chasing November Season 8 begins now. Well, welcome back to another episode of Midwest Whitetail. We appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. And as you just saw, Chasing November Season 8 is finally here. Episodes 1 through 4 launched last night, and today, if you're watching this show on Monday, at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're gonna have episodes 5 through 8 to follow. Every day after, 4 more episodes, and there's 20 total in the series this year. If you aren't familiar with the Chasing November series, it is meant to be watched chronologically. So if you start with episode 1, going to 2, 3, 4, and keeping in order is very important, as each episode builds storyline to storyline, and it takes you through the entire season. It's meant to be a tune-up to excite you guys for the season coming up. And if you take the time to watch, again, really appreciate the support. And before we move on from Chasing November, wanted to talk about some of the new merch we've got available. We're gonna have 2 sweatshirt options, 2 t-shirt options, and 2 hats. All are gonna be available in a style of green or black, and that should be on the website here very soon in the next few days. We're just taking care of a couple of things to make sure it's a smooth process for the ordering, and if you choose to purchase, really appreciate that. So now moving forward to today's show, we're gonna be joining Kaleb Greiner. For those of you that have watched the past few weeks, he's been teasing an absolute giant deer, and it's the same story as it always is for Kaleb. Small farm, hard places to hunt, and he's gonna dive into this entire story from start to finish and how he thinks he's gonna be able to catch up to the buck. Following that, we're gonna go jump over to Zach Rozmus, who has been busy at it just as much as anybody. You know, he's got Area 52, which is the farm that he owns and puts a ton of work into, but one of the things that I love about Zach is he goes out of his way to figure out as many options to be successful each and every fall. That usually comes in the form of exchanging hard work for hunting permission, and on this one, we're finally getting a chance to see a big deer on the Goat Hills, so stick around, make sure to check that deer out, and thank you for taking the time to watch this episode. Let's jump right to the action.
Come on, old boy. Don't be shy. Oh my gosh. I'm never gonna get tired of looking at these photos. Oh my goodness. Dude, that's just an absolute unit. He's coming from the right there, actually. 1017. So that means he's bedding down here, actually, more than likely. Did he have mud on his? No, he's kind of got a muddy hooves. He had muddy hooves in the back, so there's gotta be a crossing that he's crossing to get on this island. All right, guys. I've been waiting to do this interview for years. This is a deer that I've probably had the most history with out of any deer I have ever just kind of followed over the years. You know, the story goes all the way back to 2018, 2019. You know, I was joking around with my uncle. He always used to tell me there's just ghosts out here. They live out in the flats, you know. And one Christmas evening, I went out, broke away from the family, and I just had to go put a camera up in a small thicket that he'd been telling me that there was a lot of really good deer at. Sure enough, I put a camera up, and you know, there were a couple of really good deer. There was actually one that's still alive to this day, OG. He was one of the first good mature bucks that were on camera. But there was this young 3-year-old that kind of stuck out. I could see like a little bit of palmation in between his 2s and his 3s, a little bit of mass that, you know, maybe next year he could make a jump. The next following year, I put cameras up here, and sure enough, that deer blew up into a giant 4-year-old. You know, I could see that potential was there, and it made me really excited to see what he was gonna do the next year, and that was 2020. And Collins and I, we put that camera up, and the first deer that was actually on that camera was this buck. He had little nubs like this, and right away I told Collins, dude, that's lucky. Man, I just spent so many hours trying to scout this deer living in the CRP over my left shoulder. And we got a lot of encounters, a lot of really cool footage, just an absolute unit of a deer. We wanted to get in here. We thought our best opportunity with this deer was probably gonna be in youth season. So I took my younger cousin, Jack, and we ended up coming out with a good buck for Jack.
Good job, buddy.
Nice job, buddy. I'm pretty sure he trashed.
Caleb and Casey took me out to go hunt for Lucky. We ended up getting this nice little 10-point. Thank you, Caleb and Casey, God and Jesus, and my parents for letting me do this.
But that deer just kind of fell off the face of the earth after that year. You know, I didn't get any more photos of him. And fast forwarding into shed season, never found his sheds. And coming back into the next summer, I was super excited to get this deer back on camera. 190-inch 5-year-old, like who knows what that deer could be the following year. And I got one set of photos of him the first week of May. Giant bases, knew it was him. I mean, we're in a 1/4 acre thicket in the middle of 500 acres of ag. Like, I mean, there's no one that would think in their right mind that there's a deer this caliber and this many deer in general just living here. I mean, we just went through those photos. 2 or 3 mature bucks that are living in this little property. Fast forward here, what was it, like a month ago, Shay and I were driving past this farm. I'm like, you know what, like, why don't we go throw a camera in here for Lucky? Like, just one. And coming in here, as you guys saw, I still never, that was just the best card pull of my life.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What a sow, you guys. Look at the base.
I've always said, if you want to find big deer, you got to have multiple options. So I hunt a lot of permission stuff, or at least I put cameras there. I try and find the big ones, but I'm just on cloud 9 about this deer, and I have not stopped thinking about him since. But that's a little bit of the background with him. His name's Lucky, and he's been lucky enough to make it all the way to 7 years old now. First thing we did today, we checked this card. He's only on here once. But the one intel that I do have from this camera is all these bucks, including him, are coming hard right. And every time they come by, it seems like a lot of these deer have mud on their hooves. So there should be a good crossing somewhere over here that we should be able to find where we're gonna start picking these deer up on camera. And I just want that natural movement. That's the only thing I care about. I really could care less about getting the inventory. I want some kind of information that's gonna help me try and pinpoint what this deer is doing. But right now, since we're getting nighttime photos, around 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock of him coming from the right, more than likely, he's bedding to the south. So we're gonna put up a couple vine scrapes today. I mean, I've spent hours already just thinking about how I'm gonna probably try and kill this deer. We're gonna dive into that here later on. I'll kind of talk you guys through my strategy. We'll see if it works, see if we can call it a shot. There's no big buck tracks, but that's an old scrape. So, I used to have really good photos of them here. At the same time of year, where I'm thinking this deer beds, it's a really good bedding area. It's straight to our south, but I don't want to get too close to him. I don't want to risk spooking this deer another time. 2 years ago, I would have came in here with Ryan and Gavin and putting cameras up. And we did that several times, never spooked him out of here. So I'm not too worried about spooking him out of here. I just don't want to leave too much scent here, or at least as little as possible. So we're just gonna hang a bunch of vine scrapes. I got 4 cameras put out, and we're going to soak this area in between here and where we just came from. I'm gonna try connecting it to the main one. He broke it last time. So I used to care about putting my scent on these vines, grabbing them and stuff. I don't notice a difference, I really don't. I use a scent forehead gland lure to put on top of it. And I normally have deer hitting them within the night, so let's see if I can make this work. Perfect. Looks perfect too. Okay. All right. I'm trying to think like where I'm trying to put my cameras right now are on pinch points. All I say is pinch, especially in November. But it's the best spots to get your vine scrapes, but get deer. It's the most high traffic areas. It's where they all come together. So we'll sneak up here. Let's see if there should be a good crossing coming out into this corner. They're definitely condensed right here. So I need to figure out how to get a camera here. I'm climbing that tree. I'm putting a camera in it. Chuck my 200-inch vine. Don't look too sharp. So how are we going to kill this deer? You know, I put a lot of thought into it. I've already said that. Well, let's begin with the access. When I access this, I have to always take into account the wind. So if it's blowing out of the east, I have to access it from the west. If it's a west wind, which is what it was today, I access it from the east. And that's just so you always have the wind in your face. It's just big ag all the way till you get to this draw, to this point. There's a little bit of CRP along with it, maybe 5 acres. Maybe is all that's back in here. And whenever I would come back here, I'd sit at the top of the hill in the beans, and I would watch him get up out of his bed. It was always in this little waterway in this CRP field, and he would always move beds whenever the winds would change. All right, guys, it's July 23rd, and so far the off season has been super eventful. You know, I had the tactic of moving all my cameras to the middle of nowhere, places that people wouldn't normally think that deer would be at. Just little draws out in the middle of a field, or just a fence post out in the middle of a section. And it seems so far this year that I'm finding all these deer back. You know, in the past years, I've struggled to get all my target deer on camera in velvet season, and this year, right away, there's a deer that just stepped out right there. Hey, there he is. He's in the CRP. Running in the CRP. He's literally behind that tree right there right now. They're running up the hill. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Guys, we haven't been here for maybe 20 minutes max. I think it's 6 o'clock right now. And Lucky just got up out of his bed about 200 yards away with a little buck and worked over that CRP field. I think we've been out here maybe a dozen times so far this year trying to find and film this deer, and it just finally happened. But then there's another one right there. We got more deer working out, so we're gonna get the cameras going. But
You know, my strategy with these cameras today is to figure out exactly how many deer are in here without putting boots on the ground, without getting scent in here. If you look at the spots on Onyx where I put the cameras, they're all natural pinch points. So what I mean by that is the beans and that mowed grass area, those are really small pinch points between those areas that those deer are easily funneling through there. They're always gonna take the easiest route. Back in here, it's so secluded, they don't have to worry about being seen by any other humans. I mean, that's why this deer's back in here, you guys. That's why all these deer are in here. My plan is for these cameras to figure out how many deer are using the east side, are they preferring the west side of this draw? But it's only 20 yards wide. They're probably going to be bedding to the south or to the north, and I'm gonna have to hunt them on their way to and from food, to and from bedding. I mean, since it's so tight, I'm gonna have to give up one of those sides of the draw. So from a bow hunting standpoint, I don't even know if I can get down in here and hunt this deer without educating any other deer. My plan as of right now is I'm gonna hunt this deer on the ground. I'm going to sit up on this hillside if I have an east wind. If I have a west wind, I will sit up on this hillside. But I'm just gonna try putting him to bed every morning as long as the conditions are favorable, playing it as smart as possible, but trying to figure out where he beds and then maybe make a move on him. With a bow, I've been putting a lot of hours, a lot of days into bow hunting off the ground, and last year and the year before, and man, it's just a blast doing it. So I don't know if I could hold it together with this buck on the ground, but I'd sure like to give it a shot. So I think that's gonna wrap it up. I'm really excited for this one, you guys. Hopefully we'll be bringing a couple scouting missions for him here relatively soon, but this is the first time I've ever had a deer where I get to hunt him where he lives. Never have I ever got to do that before, so I'm pretty excited for it. But we're gonna get out of here. I'm really eager to see him hitting these vine scrapes here, hopefully in the next couple days. And as always, thank you guys for watching the show this week, and I hope to see you back on the next one.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Goat Hills. We've been busy over the last several weeks trying to get this farm ready for the upcoming season, and we're gonna go back to a plot location that I talked about earlier this year that I kind of referred to as the bow tie plot. And I really want to dive into why I think that's such a good location, and then also how I'm going to access that this fall, because really when it comes down to it, I really think you need to identify access, ingress, egress on a stand location before you really even put up a permanent set, because I do a lot of hang-in hunts and I want my permanent stand locations for hang-ons. I want them to be in locations that are easy access in and out. And I think that that's one of those things about this location is that I think I can hunt it time after time, and especially during different periods of the season, because the access going in and out of it is going to be so good. So the Kaufman's going to help me out today. We're going to hug these beans and then essentially dive into the timber and come up right behind that stand location. I think it's going to really set up well for this farm going into the future. So one of the things you could make the argument on a day like today is that, you know, that really wasn't that long of a ride to actually ride the bike in. But one of the things I'm trying to take into consideration with this farm, no different than Area 52, is it sits on a level B road where there are absolutely going to be times throughout the fall where I'm not able to park my truck where I did today, where I might have to ride my bike 2 miles just to get to where I'm at right now. So this is a tool that's going to be worth every single penny when it comes down to it, because it's going to allow me to hunt this farm on days where typically I wouldn't be able to hunt it if I didn't have access to this type of equipment. Well, we're gonna have to definitely do a little trail trimming back there, but
That's a really cool access. It kind of drops off into a pretty V-bottom creek down there, and it kind of allowed me to just walk right through the creek pretty much to where I'm standing. When I pre-scouted this area, you're gonna see like off to my left that there's a pretty good sized locust tree, and I had it in my head that that was gonna be the tree this entire time. As I'm walking up, it's got a pretty decent sized lean to it, which it's okay to not be a locust tree. It's got a lot of thorns on it. We can pick the next tree over, which there's a nice pin oak right to the left of it, so that one's gonna be what it is. So it's a little lower. We're not gonna be as high off the ground, but this is just such a cool spot, and the access is gonna be really great, I think. I didn't see a lot of bedding or anything when I was walking through there, so that was something I was trying to identify when I was walking in. We're actually pinching it down where we're gonna be set up in the most narrow spot on this actual plot. So essentially we could have deer that come into this bow tie plot that are gonna be 60 or 70 yards away, but where we're strategically putting the stand location, we just happen to have a decent tree at that location. It's only gonna be a max of about 40 yards probably across here. So we're kind of cutting that gap and kind of giving ourselves a little bit of edge. So I feel like I packed pretty light on my way in. I just have the Treehouse 9 around my hips right now, and Ty drove the side-by-side back here, so he's got a full load of stands and sticks that we're gonna have, and then also the pole saw. And the idea is that once we kind of finish up here today, you know, there might be a period of time where we come back and we pull some cards off of this actual trail camera, because this is actually my home camera located on this farm, and then maybe just a little bit of touch up for the mowing on the clover. And the clover's looking really great. It really is. You know, there was a period of time when we had drought conditions here in southern Iowa that I was a little concerned with it being a first-year plot. Clover takes time to establish itself, and depending on its location cannot always be the most drought-resistant, you know, type of food source. But we're gonna get some sticks up in the air and then get the stand hung, and then continue working on the off-season to-do list here at the Goat Hills. There's always another project, there's no doubt about that.
A little trimming.
This is a really comfortable sit. Got a little lean back to it. I really like how it's setting up though. Essentially this is all gonna be my shot window right in here. I'm gonna leave a little bit of this cover off to my left, because I wanna be able to blend in a little bit, and kind of, we are getting to the point where we are skyline just a little bit, so I wanna leave as much of that cover as we can. But essentially anything from right in here, I'm gonna have a really good sized half moon where I'm gonna have a lot of shot opportunities right in here. I really like how that's setting up. Well, we're just kind of wrapping this stand up, and Ty and I were actually just standing here just kind of talking about how cool a spot this was, and we're actually going to do a full card pull out on our way out. One of the things that's been very obvious very quickly, you know, we've done some velvet filming out here, and even just on the camera, is that there's no shortage of deer density out here. You know, this spot specifically where this camera set up, I mean, there's been several times where it seems like there's 15, 16 deer there in frame, and there's actually been a few bucks that have been showing up here recently that I think are gonna creep to the top of my hit list out here on the Goat Hills right away. But there's a really good 10-pointer, a really framey deer, long tines, that he got me excited right away when I started to see that. So, but also I wanna remind everyone that Chasing November dropped yesterday, and we're gonna continue to drop 4 episodes a night at 7 p.m. Until the very end of the show. And if you've never watched Chasing November before, it's such a great creative outlet. Gavin and Josh have really been grinding to put that together, and it's just a really cinematic, you know, quality product that comes out of that. That's just a different look on our season. So we appreciate you guys joining us on this week's episode of Midwest Whitetail.